Namaste. Namaste, precious souls. Welcome to Book of Life for the first Monday in December. Here we go. Today we'll be reading from 5th degree, lesson 4. It's going to be Across the Borderline. Priest versus prophet. Bible student who are also New Age seekers may be concerned about some of the quotations from the Bible which seem to deal with communication between the worlds, particularly Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 22, forbidding consultation with familiar spirits as an abomination unto the Lord. It should be remembered that this command was given by the priests, not by God. Rather, God gave a different admonition. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak unto him in a dream. Numbers 12, verse 6. What is a prophet? And again, in 1 Samuel 10:6, we find a prophet described as a man upon whom the descent of the Spirit of the Lord changes him from a normal man into another man, compelling him to speak words not his own, but those which the Spirit shall give him utterance. Here, again, we see the feud between prophet and priest still holding sway. And of course, it is important to note that these words were written in a more patriarchal time than our own. Prophets, we know, are at least as likely to be women as to be men. Actually, when the priest warned against familiar spirits, such a warning becomes a confession that communion is genuine, else there would be no reason to forbid it. History is replete with such attempts by those with power attempting to keep the authoritative power of the church or synagogue for themselves, to retain control over others, and in so doing to restrain truth. Direct, intelligent communication and connection between human beings and those who have passed over would be a vital threat to the priesthood, and it is over this action that priest and prophet have often clashed. Can ritual produce divine communion? Joan of Arc was only one such example. Whenever such classes have occurred, the prophet has always proved spiritually superior, while the priests have maintained power solely because they gained the support of the ruling royalty of their day. True, it was found necessary to employ the prophetic principle because of popular demand. Thus, the high priest supposedly consulted God annually, usually through the Urim and the Thummim. When this observation became completely ritualistic, miracles or communion were no more recorded. True communion always rests on natural law and cannot be controlled by ritual, regardless how carefully adhered to. The hierarchy of prophets operates from the future and above, reaching down to guide humankind into the light of a new day. Much of the hierarchy of most traditional religions is of the past and of earth below, using a great deal of energy to restrain the up-moving spiritual progress humankind must attain. One tends toward life everlasting, the other toward death and punishment. One offers love opposed to fear, liberation versus bondage. All through the eons of Earth's existence, God has patiently waited for Earth to produce a humanity with a common ability to discern two worlds, prophets or psychics, emerging first to prepare humanity for entrance upon its next phase of existence. Without such guidance, it would be most difficult for Earth to reason her way to truth. From the long ago time when the mind began to reason, people have fastened upon the hope of continued life after death. But the yearning heart has seemed insufficient to dispel doubts. Our hope and searching continued through the centuries. We remember the prophet Joseph in Egypt, who, because he had power to interpret properly a king's dream, was swiftly removed from prison and given a place in the kingdom, second only to the king himself. And again, we recall the power of Elisha in Dothan, who, through the use of clairvoyance, discerned the strategic plans of the king in distant Syria and, reacting accordingly, was able to save his country from invading foes. Yet again, the prophet Daniel interpreting the dream of the mighty monarch of Babylon. Such power gives modern prophets pause. Who among us is worthy of such power? A power to control the destiny of untold millions. Only the untold millions themselves. In this latest wave of New Age study of the ancient mysteries, we are learning that which a mystical understanding of all the great spiritual teachers of the past has been teaching. We are all children of the divine. We all possess the spark of divine light and life within our hearts. We each must work to become our own prophets, seeking to develop our own spiritual practice, skills, and understanding. Even those who do not work directly on their psychic unfoldment will find their intuitive powers increasing simply through spiritual study and practice. Now is the time upon this earth when people will speak with their angels, their teachers, their guides. We seek guidance and we receive it. And slowly we learn to separate our own desires from the intuitive messages from on high. We learn to seek this guidance only for ourselves, rather than as a tool for telling others what to do and how to behave. Using spiritual skills to seek power over others should become more and more a thing of the past. The pilgrim's spiritual reluctance. Most souls entering the higher planes experience a desire to return to earth, make known the presence of the higher worlds, and reveal how different everything is from what they expected it to be. Such communion, however, requires careful training, diligent study, and extensive understanding of the law on both sides of the veil. Few have the desire to learn the scientific conditions under which communications should be conducted. Many newcomers over there rush about to seek opened channels to earth. Once they break the silence of death, they find themselves called upon to answer innumerable inquiries concerning subjects with which they are unfamiliar. Do all pilgrims over there know all things? Most hesitate to declare that they do not know the answers. Indeed, few realize that they do not know. Therefore, communications given by them result in many errors. Too many people take everything that is said at face value, believing that death bestows some kind of omniscience. Again, the result has unfortunately been that either every message is received is considered to be divine truth, or the whole of it is discarded as being a device of wicked and malicious spirits intent upon deceiving the unwary. Why is spiritual truth not always accepted? Many times, too, when enlightened teachers have attempted to correct long-standing errors, their teachings have been resisted. Many people are not willing to embrace new spiritual truths. Their attitudes are seldom congenial. The teachings are met with antagonism, argument, denial, insurmountable demands for proof. Such attitudes too often have forced the enlightened teachers to withdraw, leaving the investigators exposed to teachers of less stature who, seeking to keep a foot in the open doorway, affirm as infallible truth the accepted creeds of the investigators. Thus, it has happened in the recent past that the enlightened are often accused of being false and deceitful, while the ignorant have been accepted as the tried and true, simply because the enlightened attempted to unravel the mysteries of humankind, while the ignorant confirmed long-held errors. Newly arrived pilgrims. Often, a newly arrived pilgrim is anxious to communicate with loved ones on earth, but he or she may be made more unhappy by any attempt to do so. For regardless of all your efforts, you cannot make them aware of your presence. They are wrapped in grief, and they think of you as dead, as gone forever, or sleeping for a millennium. You may go to them frequently, striving to impress them that you are present. Each time you see them in their sorrow and come away disappointed and in equal sorrow, unless, of course, some friends and family members believe in continued life and look for signs of your presence. What often happens to pilgrims who have no understanding of life after death, nor do their families, is that the pilgrim gradually comes to know that efforts at contact are in vain. Their earth visits will become less and less frequent until finally he or she stays away altogether, forced to be content to wait until loved ones become pilgrims in the upper worlds themselves. Mediums, psychics, and seers. What is a medium? Persons who possess and express extrasensory faculties are known by a variety of names. The names are often used interchangeably, and most everyone understands what is meant. There are shades of difference between them, and it is helpful to know what they are. A medium, one who conveys an expression of intelligence or of force or both from another dimension of life to this physical dimension. A medium may serve in numerous ways as a channel for what is known as physical psychic phenomena, usually shortened to physical phenomena. As the term implies, this kind of psychic manifestation has to do with occurrences which become discernible to the physical senses, though motivated and to some degree controlled by intelligences in the non-physical dimension. Examples of physical phenomena would include Jesus' physical appearance to the disciples following his resurrection, Moses receiving the tablets of the law, and, on a lower plane of expression than these, poltergeist phenomena, table tipping, and a multiple of phenomena such as trumpet mediumship, materialization, etc. In all the foregoing examples, the medium is somehow constituted chemically or electrically so as to provide a physical plane terminal, transformer, and amplifier of psychic energy for the astral plane or higher source from which the phenomena originated. A medium may use his or her talent professionally. After having unfolded her inner psychic gifts, she charges a fee or accepts a donation for her mediumistic services. She may spend many years developing her talent and, having attained a certain unfoldment, feels that she should give up other employment and devote full time to her mediumship as a profession. She may hold seances or offer private consultations and be paid accordingly. She may present psychic unfoldment classes and be remunerated by those attending. A servant is worthy of her hire. One who has spent considerable time unfolding her psychic capabilities is worthy of remuneration when her professional services are sought. She should be very sure, however, before becoming a professional medium, that she is really capable of contacting those in the other world and delivering true communications to those in this world seeking such contacts. Occasionally, those calling themselves professional mediums are victims of their own overactive imaginations, and their actions cast spurious doubts over the entire field of extrasensory perception and mysticism. Others are bright and shining lights in the cause of spirit communication. Many have given up more lucrative employment to the service of a cause to which they feel wholly dedicated. Their mediumistic profession has required sacrifices from them, not only materially, but in a more personal sense. They are often the brunt of ridicule, the victims of unjust criticism. Occasionally, they are denied even the right to human dignity. Thus, the true medium, one who has truly unfolded his or her inner gifts and perhaps sacrificed much to serve the cause of spirit communion, is to be highly commended. How frauds win to lose. One who proclaims herself to be a professional medium, but who knows full well that her psychic talents are still dormant and who hopes to attain success through fraudulent practices, is not only to be rejected, but pitied. Pitied because of the rejection she must face on the other side when she departs earth. There she must face not only her own image, but also the hostility of those she misrepresented. A fraudulent medium is never more despised than by inhabitants of the other world. There are few among the vast multitudes of the unseen who do not long to tell people on the earth plane the truth about life after death. However, when the self-styled medium deliberately seeks a material profit through fraudulent means, she represents to them the lowest type of individual. On the other hand, the medium who has spent considerable time developing her talent to sincerely serve both worlds will well nigh inherit the kingdom, for there can be no truer servant of God and humankind. Psychics. Everyone is psychic. The ability is a latent talent in every individual. Nearly everyone has had psychic experiences, but not everyone is aware of them. Comparatively, few use the ability consciously in their lives. A psychic, one who is sensitive to impulses from a source higher than one's own conscious mind. The impulses which the psychic receives may be in the nature of a strong feeling in the realm of mental thoughts, flashes of inspiration, intuition, clairvoyance, clairaudience, etc. Or the impulses may originate in the above normal consciousness center of one's own being, known as the high self. The psychic practices extrasensory perception, commonly called ESP. Because he or she uses an extension of normal faculties of sensitivity, this person is frequently referred to as a sensitive. Most persons who are mediums, according to our definition given on page 6, are also psychic, but few who are psychic are also professional mediums. A psychic, either consciously or unconsciously, employs the use of unfolded spiritual senses in his or her everyday living. There are a great many psychics unaware. These are those talented geniuses who, possessing extrasensory perception in their own physical and spiritual makeup, have attracted spirits from the higher realms eager to impart their knowledge to someone on earth. How is communication possible with the causal world? Others are conscious, intentional psychics, mystical teachers, writers, speakers, philosophers, and others have deliberately unfolded their psychic potential and are well aware that much of their work is accomplished under the inspirational influence of unseen beings. They realize that the other world is the true world of causes. It is upon this plane that ideas come to birth. While it is true that the normal consciousness is capable of creating original ideas, nevertheless, the mental influence of great minds and thoughts continually descends upon mortals. A psychic could no more escape this inpouring influence than one could avoid being wet standing in the rain. All great orators are inspired, as are all great writers and scientists. Artists are seldom as profound as their paintings, for the masterpieces shine with the touch of the true master's hand. Some of the poetry of great poets excels the boundaries of their talents. Most geniuses are psychics unaware. Some in childhood have even shown the mark of supposed ignorance, as did Thomas Edison, for instance. The poor lad was so backward in his school work that, despairing his ever keeping up with his classmates, it was deemed wiser that he simply study at home. Once relieved of daily pressure of school studies, his unusual mental prowess opened under the baptismal downflow of ideas concerning electricity. Fired by the knowledge, his mind easily flashed from stupidity to genius, unfolding rapidly under the influence of the great ones from the other world, who chose to use him as an instrument. Like a sponge, his fertile mind absorbed ideas for inventions which he then gave to humanity of earth. An experiment for writers. Many writers can write by the hour without having the slightest notion of what is to come next. Such a writer may be reluctant to admit that the ideas, thoughts, and words do not originate with him. But one who has any doubt in the matter should attempt truly original writings someday. That is, for the sake of experimenting, he should assume the presence and aid of an unseen spiritual force. He should ask them to withdraw and cease helping during the experiment. Then he should attempt forming the words and sentences with his own mind, originating the thoughts himself. If he finds the process much more difficult than usual, if he struggles for words that usually flow easily, if he finds himself pacing to and fro, trying to plan and execute the next thought, he should be thoroughly convinced that he is not the originator of his writings, but either an instrument or a co-creator. What is inspiration? But the most brilliant of any age have been psychics, aware or unaware. All have been inspired, and what is meant by inspiration? It is simply an influence higher than oneself, acting upon and stimulating one's creative abilities. There is never a time that Ethereans do not seek to find those on earth through whom they can execute their spiritual inventions, their teachings. They care little who gets the credit. Some, becoming puffed up and pompous on earth, are due for a considerable comeuppance when they arrive in the other world. There, one may learn that the scientific discovery for which he won the Nobel Prize was not his at all. He may not be the genius he had thought himself to be. There, in the world of reality, he must take his proper place. If he is wise, he will overcome pride of intellect. Instead of being resentful at being denied a place of honor, which he only partially earned, he should recognize that his time of opportunity has arrived. If he would attain his own true genius, he or she must begin to unfold it within and then, if possible, inspire some fellow scientists of Earth with other needed inventions. Seers and prophets. In common usage, these two words have come to define the same type of person. The slight difference may be seen in the following definitions. A seer, a person who foresees the future or who sees invisible aspects of the past or the present through his or her own powers. A prophet, one who speaks for God, one who predicts future events which have been given to him or her through psychic inspiration. Note that a seer may or may not also be a prophet, and a prophet may or may not also be a seer. Seers or prophets see beyond the finite. It is not possible to be such a person unaware, for spiritual awareness is the fiber of their being. They have unfolded their inner spiritual potentials and used their extended senses almost as easily as they do the five physical senses. They see with their spiritual sight, hear with their inner hearing, and know with an opened sense of clairsentience. They are able to discern and foretell future events. True seership comes only to the sage, and to such a sage comes wisdom, expanded consciousness, illumination. He or she is a genius in his or her own right, though he or she would be the first to humbly call upon master souls from the unseen to help achieve some spiritual goal. Nevertheless, he or she has within a great portion of the unfolded qualities required. Seers and prophets are few. Usually it falls upon them to bring to earth some new spiritual or religious concept, to become great philosophers, remarkable teachers, or renowned writers. It is obvious to all beholding them and their labors that they are not only inspired from outside sources, but possess true creativity within themselves. Are all psychics spiritual? Spirituality. It is important that this fact be kept clearly in mind. A person may become a great psychic, a fully developed medium, yet not be at the height of spiritual advancement. Psychic sensitivity or mediumistic development does not necessarily guarantee spirituality. Many persons harbor a mistaken belief that all messages coming from the unseen, every exhibition of psychic power, indicates high spiritual attainment. The two are not necessarily connected, which results in much disappointment and misunderstanding. A psychic may be very pure and very spiritual. Such a channel may be able to bring heaven down to earth, literally because of their own spiritual studies and due to the noble spirits who compose the surrounding band of teachers. On the other hand, a psychic may be completely materialistic, using these gifts for self-aggrandizement and unnecessarily great financial benefit. The gift itself is not that which does good nor harm. It is the way in which the gift is used. Choice of use or abuse of psychic powers. Psychic powers may be employed to work appalling wickedness or consecrated for the elevation of the whole human race. It is absolutely essential in this new age, when the door of the unseen is opening to all humanity as never before, that every seeker should understand the nature of the power that is being put into the hands of those on earth. Thoughts of purity, love, and holiness must be projected if one is to receive the messengers of light which will bless and comfort humankind. Those who use such forces for amusement, for vast material benefit, or for the hurt of another are opening themselves to the potentiality of negative karma. Psychic manifestations should never be approached without reverence and prayer. Physical phenomena, such as a table tilting, raps, making the furniture move, planchette, Ouija board, can never be elevated to the highest channels of communication. It is possible, however, for the highest spiritual entity to manifest through such a channel if the psychic or medium is of high morality. And such a channel may often be the means of turning despair into hope and doubt into certainty for a seeker missing someone they love. Reasons for insignificant phenomena. It is logical to ponder why any spirit of intelligence would choose to manifest through raps, table tilting, Ouija board, or other crude methods of communication. Often it is simply because this is the only means available to them at that particular time, not because they lack the ability to use more sophisticated methods, but because we lack the ability to supply the receptive station. So anxious are they to prove their continued existence and to alert us of the reality of Etheria, that they take any avenue open to them. They would prefer, naturally, to contact psychics and mystics of superior intelligence, persons whose integrity is above question, whose honesty is reliable, and whose purpose is one of service. But how often can such a channel be found? Why insignificant phenomena? Ours is not to reason why. Ours is but to realize they must approach Earth in a variety of ways simply because there are more people able to tip a table or move a Ouija board than there are developed clairsentients. Remember, they do not choose these methods of contact because they want to, but because they must use whatever is available. A second reason for insignificant rappings or poltergeist type phenomena is because they often are sensational enough to be newsworthy. They not only attract attention in the immediate vicinity, but often are reported by the news media. Thus, the general public is made aware that another world exists and has life and energy. Should they attempt some great and wondrous revelation, perhaps only a few intellectuals would react. Such phenomena might astound but never attract or convince the multitudes. If we feel justified in criticizing the methods employed, the errors often made during crude manifestations, the unsatisfactory results experienced, then it is important to remember the difficulties under which Etherians labor, for their laws must be adjusted to coalesce with ours. Many psychic manifestations are rejected because of their trivial character. But again, the important thing to keep in mind is that the manifestations did appear, and obviously with some intelligent mind behind them. Much of the unjust criticism of trivial communications springs from erroneous theological training. Human beings frequently have such an imperfect idea of spirit beings. The general impression is that, having passed through the process of death, they are without any real form. They are melancholy wraiths, vaporous ghosts, spectral apparitions without real substance and mental faculties. Too often, many suppose that our breath is our spirit, and thus spirits are immaterial. which is only another word for nothing. Often, too, ascended spirits, those who attain the angelic heights, are erroneously endowed with enormous wings. It would seem that the purer the angel, the larger the wings. This concept arose because artists of old, clairvoyantly beholding angelic beings, saw around them auric emanations of pure white light. Such emanations flow outward in radiant waves, frequently forming about the being an enfolding aura that, beheld by imperfect clairvoyant sight, could closely resemble the form of huge wings. Saintly persons of earth emit similar auras. The purified white light pours from the head area upward, then, under normal circumstances, turns to course downward, forming a spiritual armor around the body. During moments of prayer and spiritual ecstasy, the light descends upward like a flowing river to merge with an answering, downpouring grace from the highest heavens. Do angels laugh? Because human beings suppose a spirit to be a solemn, vaporous nonentity or a majestic angel, they are surprised at the frequent evidence of mirth or happiness. Such congeniality seems to them altogether beneath the dignity of heavenly visitants. But who has cause for greater happiness? And how is it that one who loved to laugh while here should suddenly become solemn and eternally prayerful over there? As with us, there is a time to laugh and a time to pray. And cannot one who has learned firsthand about heaven and the afterlife well afford to laugh and feel reverential simultaneously? The mere passing from the natural body into the spiritual does not deprive one of one's humor, nor cause one to forget the warmth of fellowship and happy pleasures. Pious solemnity is usually reserved for pious occasions, and there are those over there in full measure, but laughter is as important as learning. It is difficult for a psychic amanuensis to write down words of happiness without often seeming trivial. Mirth must be felt and returned by those on earth if the door between worlds is to become fully opened. If only the solemn saints from the highest heavens are to be welcomed, how very boring and unhappy for us! Who among us would not sometime yearn for a word of love and laughter and the reminder of a shared trivial joke or time of pleasure? This much is certain. To advance in spirit never means to become less mirthful and joyous. We should constantly remember that until the line of communication between the two worlds becomes perfected, there will be much misunderstanding, inadvertent errors in answers to questions, thousands of incidents that can never be philosophically explained. We must be educated by our own personal experiences. We should learn to laugh at the errors rather than turn away from our search. We should enter our investigations determined to be cautious, wise, just, prepared to discriminate to the best of our ability, determined also that the discovery of the counterfeit will not cause us to turn from that which is true. Thus, we will be better prepared to arrive at our ultimate goal, truth. Such a realistic approach will also be gratefully viewed by those over there who sincerely and anxiously strive to convince our world of their reality. Being unable to always control the various wavelengths of energy, how discouraging must it be when something uncontrollable occurs which results in a wrong answer to a question? We should understand that spiritual contact and communication through electrical vibrations may be as new a discovery to the inhabitants of Etheria as it is to us. Until the psychic laws governing such contacts are better understood by both worlds, it is important to hold our unjust criticism in abeyance. Out of such small beginnings as raps, table tipping, Ouija board, automatic writing, can come a complete New Age revelation to the humanities of both realms. Until a scant 100 years ago, most borderland inhabitants were unaware that they could put themselves into electrical rapport with terrestrial magnetism. Because the spirits themselves are still learning to manipulate even this rudimental contact, they find it difficult to transmit their thoughts through electrical vibrational sound. And very often their efforts result in so imperfect an accomplishment as to be mistaken and misunderstood on earth. What remains unchanged by death? If you, while on Earth, learned very little of the principles of electromagnetic vibrations, it is unreasonable to expect you to understand such a scientific principle simply because you have shed your physical form and reside in an unseen sphere. Neither should we of Earth expect you to be able to understand and skillfully manage this newly discovered technique of positive negative contact between mind on the higher sphere with matter on the earth sphere. Spirits are neither infallible nor omnipotent, and they must attempt to perfectly transmit their thoughts through rudimentary electrical agencies which they have not yet learned to control. In addition to this, they are expected to remember every detail of their earth life in order to satisfy every test demanded of them. Failure to comply with perfection brings the risk of being labeled the devil or false spirits. Failure to remember what happened on any certain occasion should not forever brand a spirit as false. It might simply mean that you don't remember or that you have not yet learned how to think electrically. We must all have patience. True, one should test the spirits to be certain that they are who we think they are. But what we must first do is to continue convincing more and more in this world that our loved ones continue to exist in the next. One universe. Our world is a part of their world. They live in both, can come and go in both. We also live in their world, but are not consciously aware of it. Their world and their forms operate on a higher frequency than do our forms and our world. Our matter is like their matter, only more condensed. They can see and touch our world. They can hear us when we speak aloud to them. They can often even read an unspoken thought if it is addressed to them. Some can read thoughts not addressed to them, but it requires exceedingly great knowledge of the process. Our brains are obstructions to intercommunication. We are dense. We are thick-headed. The matter of our brains can be stepped up in frequency to receive such communication only through spiritual practice, as in the practice of Lama Yoga. They can pass through matter that is an obstruction to us. They can pass through our solids, as do X-rays and high-frequency energies. Our consciousness, operating through brain matter, manifests at a low frequency. Their consciousness, released from the limitation of brain matter, operates at a high frequency. After Earth life, does expansion of consciousness still continue? The consciousness evolves. Therefore, there are degrees of consciousness over there. They have their limitations which must be overcome. This is their evolution as well as ours. Time and space. What usually occurs when residents of Earth communicate with residents of Etheria? Consider writings such as Astara's Book of Life and the manner in which the teachings it contains proceed from centers of consciousness in higher beings to the center of consciousness in my brain. First, let us reckon with the phenomena of communication as it relates to time and space. You are aware that when a letter used to be sent by third-class mail, it traveled slowly by bus or train. Sent first-class airmail, it travels swiftly by jet. Sent as a telegram, the message is transmitted rapidly by electricity via telegraph wires. Sent as email, it travels more quickly still. Thought is more swift than electricity. In the flash of an instant, the teachings are projected and received. My mind receives them as a flow of ideas coming in on pulsating currents of energy. If I wish to project the message via telepathy, it requires only long enough for me to fasten my attention upon the recipient and concentrate. In the flash of an instant, the message is projected and received, provided, of course, the two minds involved are electrically and magnetically attuned to each other at that moment. Assuming them to be, we have transcended both time and space as it relates to our earth dimensions. Since we are now discussing teachings received telepathically from a master soul, he or she need not even leave Summerlin or Paradise to direct teachings to my mind. Thought is more swift than electricity. In the flash of an instant, the teachings are projected and received. My mind receives them as a flow of ideas coming in on pulsating currents of energy. Sometimes they strike with sudden swiftness, and I must hasten to write them down before the thought force fades. More often, they flow with a steady rhythm, each thought following evenly. I like to believe I clothe the ideas with my own words, yet often when I hesitate, a word foreign to my choice will pop into my head with incredible force. I must confess, too, that frequently I visit my nearby dictionary to discover the meaning, because this happens habitually. It seems obvious that even the choice of words is not always mine. Occasionally, a new word, unfound in any dictionary, will be applied. As to the practical method of the sending, I have said that since the teacher is from celestial realms, it is doubtful if he need leave his plane to project his thoughts. So far away, you may say. But does distance prevent your speaking by telephone to someone in England or China? There is no pause between the flow of words. You hear as if you were conversing face to face. What pervades all space? The celestial hookup is through the agency of spiritual insight and the instrumentality of sound waves, the discharge of thought currents upon the swift-winged magnetic elements which pervade all stellar space. An opposite world, but all senders from the higher realms are not masters, and such a contact as I enjoy is indeed rare. Most Etherians face myriad difficulties when communicating. They have said that the two worlds are opposite, that their outlook is technically in opposition to ours. When they try to explain something to us, they must turn themselves around and see things from our viewpoint. What is an anti-world? Perhaps this would explain why our scientists call theirs an anti-world, or a world where the exact counterpart of our own, except it operates in reverse. Often, when we ask a question of those communicating, it would seem the answer could easily be given. Equally, as often giving the answer presents a complication beyond our comprehension due to the opposition of the two worlds. They say that a pall of darkness hangs over our earth, that and that they must pierce this darkness when they walk among us on our level. They describe the darkness as being a state where light is absent, light being a certain vibration which enables the retina of the eye to register the presence of external things. The regions of spiritual darkness are even more dim. Persons in that darkness are those whose sense of sight lacks the ability to receive light vibrations. There is a response between the spirits and the spirit's environment, and that response is so accurate and perpetual as to constitute a permanent state of life. As one outgrows one's dimness, one graduates upward into ever-increasing light spheres. But when Etherians who have grown accustomed to the higher spheres turn again earthward, they must adjust their sense perception. Those who have ascended gradually through the astral spheres have access to all the spheres below, but cannot permanently enter those above, except as more light is unfolded within. When an Etherian communicates with a loved one, he or she sees the person on earth by means of an inner light within that person, as well as a light within the Etherian. Those of higher planes project more of such inner light. Were it not for this inner faculty of light projection, Etherians would find it difficult to discern us. They say they often feel like deep sea divers, groping along the ocean floor. They are saddened by our impatience when they have difficulties in communicating, or when they make mistakes in descriptions, or when memory of a past event comes not readily to their mind. But any difficulties they may encounter is overbalanced by the joy they experience in being able to bring knowledge of their worlds and life everlasting to those of earth. Think of what splendor this ever more perfected life implies. Think of the colors and tones and beauty that lie just beyond our range of vision, and try to imagine standing on the astral and looking up into the ever ascending glories which await us. Even the earth possesses a great deal of beauty. If this beauty is magnified just on the other side of the veil, think how much more beautiful it must be in the higher radiant spheres of light. Beauty and light and purity must go hand in hand. One cannot attain to such majesty without also having attained a corresponding inner majesty. Though the radiance of it is beyond mortal knowledge, it is indeed worthy of our meditations. And closer contact with those we love who have gone on brings us closer to them, closer to this great beauty, and closer to the divine spirit as well. And there is the fifth degree lesson 4. I love these. All right, if you guys are open, we will end with a little blessing from the December blessing. So go ahead and just close your eyes. Visualize yourself inside a beautiful ball of light. And just affirm, I am surrounded by the pure white light. Only good can come to me. Only good shall go from me. To all those that we invoke to, this is the day. This is the moment to come together in a spiritual experience of harmony, joy, and oneness with the infinite spirit. The affirming meditation. Infinite love flows through my entire being and through me into the life of everyone I meet. I am in the infinite light, and the infinite light is in me. I am in the infinite light, and the infinite light is in me. Namaste, precious, precious souls. Thank you so much for joining and coming. And we will see you tomorrow for blessing the prayer petitions. And Wednesday, we'll have a full set all the way through December. It's going to be a good month. So hopefully you have a good day, morning, night, wherever you are. Enjoy. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Namaste. Thank you. Be well.